My name is Colonel Nathan Brooks. At 42, I'm a decorated military intelligence officer with the United States Army, having devoted 17 years to serving my nation. My journey has taken me to the heart of conflict zones, where I've faced trials that push my physical endurance, sharpened my mental acuity, and tested the depths of my emotional strength. In 2025, I found myself stationed at a high-stakes operations base in the Middle East, right in the thick of the intensifying Iran-Israel conflict. The air was electric with tension as the United States bolstered its presence to stand by our Israeli allies after Iran's relentless missile and drone assaults. Every sunrise brought fresh challenges, new threats that demanded every ounce of my expertise, discipline, and courage. Yet, amidst the chaos of war, one beacon kept me steady: the thought of my wife, Emily Brooks, waiting for me back home. She was my rock, my reason to return unscathed from each mission. Or so I thought. If you're inspired by stories of resilience, betrayal, and jaw-dropping twists, hit that like button and subscribe to this channel now. We bring you gripping, never-before-told stories every single day, each one more riveting than the last. Emily and I had built a life together over 14 years. At 39, she thrived as a marketing director for a tech firm in San Diego, always my biggest supporter through every deployment. Or so it seemed when I was by her side. My training as an intelligence officer honed my instincts for observation and risk assessment. I'm the kind of man who watches, calculates, and acts with precision, a trait that saved my life countless times in the field and would soon prove vital in ways I never imagined. Over my years of service, I developed a sixth sense for when something was off. It's like an inner alarm that flags hidden dangers. In the months leading up to my 2025 deployment, that alarm started ringing about Emily. Subtle shifts in her demeanor caught my eye. She began asking odd questions about my offshore investments, topics she'd never cared about before. There was a guarded edge to her words, as if each sentence was carefully weighed. I chalked it up to the stress of my impending departure, a mistake that would cost me dearly. At the Middle East base, my days were a whirlwind of intelligence briefings, coordinating with allied forces, and navigating the escalating Iran-Israel crisis. Iranian missile strikes and U.S. counter-responses created a pressure cooker environment where our presence was critical to maintaining regional stability. It was during one grueling day, after news broke of U.S. strikes on Iranian nuclear sites, that a message pinged on my encrypted device. Personal messages were rare in that hostile world, and seeing Emily's name brought a flicker of comfort. I opened it, expecting warmth, love, or encouragement. Instead, her words hit like a shockwave. "Nathan, I'm filing for divorce. My attorney will contact you. Don't try to change my mind." For minutes, I stared at the screen, rereading the cold, calculated text, hoping it would morph into something else. The betrayal cut deeper than any battlefield wound, intertwining personal devastation with the trauma of war. This wasn't just the end of a marriage. It was a gut-wrenching abandonment at my most vulnerable moment, as I risked everything for my country in one of the most dangerous conflicts of our time. But my mind, forged in the crucible of chaos, snapped into focus. No rage, no despair, just a steely resolve to uncover the truth behind those words. My battlefield-honed intuition screamed that there was more to this story. Emily wasn't impulsive. This move felt too precise, too timed. That night, as distant artillery rumbled and alerts about Iranian strikes echoed, I began piecing together the puzzle. Her questions about my finances, the growing chill in her tone, the perfectly timed message when I was thousands of miles away, it all pointed to something sinister. My suspicions zeroed in on a name Emily had mentioned more frequently in recent months: James Carter, a 36-year-old former colleague who'd left her company to launch his own financial advisory firm. She described him as a brilliant investor, even suggesting I consult him about my portfolio. At the time, I thought she was just being thoughtful. Now, I saw it as the opening move in a larger game. As a soldier, I'd always prepared for the worst. Before major deployments, I secured my assets, not out of distrust, but as standard protocol. I'd backed up all financial documents on a private server and set up alerts for unusual activity in our joint accounts. 3 days after Emily's message, those alerts lit up. Significant sums were moving from our accounts to unfamiliar ones, small, staggered transfers designed to slip under the radar. To a trained eye like mine, the pattern was unmistakable. I activated my network, starting with my lawyer, Thomas Reed, a 15-year colleague and Desert Storm veteran who understood the unique challenges of active duty personnel. Over a secure line, I said, "Tom, I need you to dig into something. Emily's pushing for divorce, but there's suspicious money movement tied to it." Tom grasped the stakes instantly. "Nathan, should I freeze the accounts now?" "Not yet," I replied. "First, I need to know who's pulling the strings and why. Freeze only if the transfers escalate. And Tom, give me a financial forensics expert." That's when Dr. Sofia Ivanova entered the picture. Recommended by Tom, Sofia was a 37-year-old Ukrainian-American with a PhD in applied mathematics from MIT and a track record of cracking complex corporate fraud cases. Our first secure video call took place at dawn in the Middle East. Sophia's piercing blue eyes locked onto the screen as she said, "Colonel Brooks, I've reviewed the data your lawyer sent. The transfer patterns suggest low-level money laundering. Someone's masking the fund's destination. I can trace it, but I'll need access to all communication logs, emails, texts, calls. If there's a scheme, it'll leave a digital footprint." For 2 weeks, while I juggled military duties amid the Iran-Israel crisis, Sophia unraveled the conspiracy. Her encrypted reports peeled back layers of deceit. The money was funneled to offshore accounts under shell companies. More damning were the email exchanges between Emily and James, recovered through Sophia's forensic wizardry. Their correspondence began 6 months before my deployment. Innocent at first, discussing investments, but soon shifting to cryptic talk of opportunities and leveraging timing. One email from James chilled me. "His deployment is our window. He's too far to interfere for at least 6 months. We can make it look like standard divorce costs." Emily's reply was worse. "Nathan's too caught up in his own cleverness to notice. Even if he suspects, he's stuck over there." Sophia uncovered James's playbook, a fake investment firm, LLCs in privacy-friendly states, and a web of accounts designed to obscure money trails. The plan was ruthless. Use the divorce as a smokescreen to siphon my assets while I was distracted by war and emotional turmoil. "Colonel," Sophia said in our third call, "this isn't a spur-of-the-moment betrayal. It's a calculated heist, with divorce as the weapon." My response was calm but firm. "What's our next step?" "We have enough for legal action," she said, "but they haven't moved the bulk of the funds. Let's wait a few days for more evidence, then hit them with account freezes, a court injunction, and a fraud complaint, all at once." It was a strategy one understood, synchronized, precise, leveraging superior intelligence. Emily and James thought they were outsmarting a broken soldier. They didn't know they were up against a military intelligence operation backed by a forensic genius. Sophia's timeline was airtight. "They're planning to ramp up transfers next week," she reported. "James is pushing Emily to wrap up Phase 1 before you can return." "Phase 1? Moving 60% of your liquid assets offshore," she explained. James said, "Once it's done, he can't touch it, even if he figures it out." It was go time. In a secure 3-way call with Tom and Sophia, I gave the order, green light. "Tom, file all legal measures at 9 a.m. Pacific tomorrow." "Sophia, prep a full evidence dossier." Tom replied, "I'll file for account freezes, an injunction on transfers, and asset protection for suspected fraud." Sophia added, "I'll include a complete forensic breakdown, emails, transfer logs, shell company maps." The operation unfolded like clockwork. At 9:15 a.m., while I was in a Middle East briefing, Tom stormed San Diego Superior Court with a mountain of evidence. By 10:30, all joint accounts were frozen. By 11, banks were alerted to the suspicious transfers. By 11:30, the FBI opened a criminal investigation. Sophia kept me in the loop via encrypted messages. Primary target tried accessing offshore account at 11:45. Access denied. Repeated attempts logged, as evidence. Emily's reaction was predictable panic. At 1 p.m., she called, her voice a mix of fury and fear. "Nathan, what did you do? Our accounts are locked, and feds are asking questions." I kept my tone even. "Hello, Emily. Sounds inconvenient." "Inconvenient? Are you insane? I just wanted a clean divorce." I paused for effect. "Emily, funneling $200,000 to shell companies tied to your boyfriend isn't exactly clean." Silence. Then, a tremor in her voice. "I don't know what you mean." "You do," I said. "And James Carter does, too. How's he holding up with the FBI on his tail?" She hung up, but Sophia was already intercepting their frantic messages. James and Emily's texts were a masterclass in self-destruction. "James, how did he know about the offshore accounts? You said he was just a soldier." "Emily, you swore this was foolproof. I didn't sign up for shell companies." Sophia noted, "They're crumbling in real time, Colonel. Every message is another nail in their coffin." James even tried calling me, leaving a voicemail. "Nathan, look, this is all a misunderstanding. Emily came on to me, said you were done. Let's sort this out man to man, no feds." I almost laughed. They were turning on each other, just as Sophia predicted. 2 days later, Tom called with a grin in his voice. "Nathan, they met to get their story straight, unaware the FBI was listening. Mark suggested blaming you for emotional neglect to justify the transfers. Emily called him an idiot and said his plan looked like a bad crime movie. The conspiracy imploded. James offered to testify against Emily for a lighter sentence. Emily claimed she was his pawn. The evidence, Sophia's meticulous dossier of emails, transfers, and recordings, left them no escape. Then came Sophia's coup de grace. "Colonel, I traced their scheme beyond your case. James pulled this on at least 3 other divorcees in the past 4 years. I've handed the evidence to the FBI, elevating this to an organized crime case. While I serve in the Middle East, Emily and James learned the hard way that crossing a military intelligence officer was their worst mistake. 3 months later, I returned to the U.S. The deployment was a success, but the real battle awaited. Tom met me at San Diego Airport with a thick folder. "Nathan, this is bigger than we thought. The FBI's investigation uncovered a network. James targeted deployed soldiers through their spouses, using his firm as a front. It wasn't personal. I was just another mark in a cold, calculated scam." I met Sophia in person at her La Jolla office. Her presence radiated purpose. "Colonel Brooks, you're about to see the full picture," she said, unveiling a presentation that mapped James's operation, targeting high-ranking officers, infiltrating their families via professional networks, and exploiting deployments to steal millions. The FBI linked him to 9 victims, with $2.8 million stolen over 6 years. The trial was a spectacle. Emily and James, once allies, tore each other apart. Emily played the neglected wife. James pinned it all on her. The prosecutor presented Sophia's evidence, and on a crisp November morning, the verdict came. Emily, 9 years in prison plus restitution. James, 14 years, full asset forfeiture. Walking out of the courthouse, I felt not vengeance, but justice, clean and final. The true triumph came later. Sophia and I founded Brooks Ivanova Security Solutions, blending my intelligence expertise with her forensic prowess to shield military families from fraud. Our first case saved a deployed major's wife from a similar scam. Within a year, we'd stopped 18 fraud attempts, recovered $1.2 million, and our protocols were adopted by the Pentagon. Sophia and I married the next spring on a San Diego beach, with Tom as my best man. Our honeymoon, a cybersecurity summit in Seattle, where we shared our model for protecting service members. 5 years later, a letter arrived from Emily, now out of prison, begging forgiveness. I didn't reply, not out of spite, but because I'd learned a deeper truth. The greatest victory isn't tearing down your enemies, but building a legacy they could never touch. James is still behind bars. Emily scrapes by in Arizona, her reputation in tatters. Meanwhile, I wake each day beside Sophia, running a company that turns pain into purpose, protecting others from the betrayal I endured. My integrity, my mission, my life, they're worth more than any dollar they tried to steal. If this story moved you, smash that like button, drop a comment with your thoughts, and subscribe with notifications on for more inspiring tales of resilience and justice. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.